Hi, folks. Hope you're doing well. It's 10 to 4 p.m. on the 31st of the 5th, 2020. I was just watching that old film, Bruce Almighty, and makes you think of it. It's a brilliant film, really, really funny. It does make you think of it in the sense that we all moan at God. We all have times when we say to God, you're obviously not doing anything. You don't listen to us. You don't care what we say, what we're asking. You seem to be taking a week off or something. We all go through times like that character does in the beginning of the film. If you were given what he was given, now I'm not going to try and get into what we have as a Christian because we have a degree of authority, and we have a degree of power given to us. If we understand it, then we could use it. At the moment, I don't think we understand it. We certainly don't walk in it on a regular basis. But let's imagine, like Bruce, the character Bruce, you were given all the power of God, every single bit of his power and authority. You've got the situation where you've got people praying, really heartfelt prayers, praying for stuff that if you say yes to, you could potentially be damaging their life because there are consequences to everything that happens. There are knock-on effects to everything. And that's when we pray for things and when we moan at God about things, we don't think of the bigger picture, because even in our situation, if God answered all of our prayers with a yes, imagine then what your life would be. Imagine now all those people that you wouldn't have met, all those people that you couldn't have had an impact on in their life, who couldn't have had an impact in your life, couldn't have been blessed by knowing you, by blessing you, or by being blessed by you. Those are one of the many consequences that can happen if the wrong decisions are made, because your life direction would be massively different if all your prayers would be answered with yes, you can have that, yes, I do that, yes, I do that, yes, I do that, yes, I do that. And you yourself would be a complete mess. Because if God was a God that just said yes, 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 that would be, you yourself would be a contradiction, because you'd be asking for things all the time, and some things would be going against other things you've asked for, which to be getting them, and your life would be a complete mess in no time at all. So you, as God, you would have the prayers of every single human being on earth coming to you. You would have to understand each and every person. You would have to understand the people that were in their lives, and how a no would affect, how a yes would affect, how a okay but not yet. And how do you communicate an okay but not yet? Because generally speaking, God doesn't speak to us in a way that is absolutely and totally understood, and that is God speaking to us. That's why I say God speaks to us through music, through things on TV, through we're sitting watching a film and suddenly bang, God will speak to us through something we just seen or heard. And that's because we live in a very, very noisy world. Our heads are full of stuff all the time. So, a song may get our attention. A line in a film or a line in a book may get our attention. And God will use that to speak to us. So when we ask the question of God and pray for something, we're in a situation where if we're not walking in his way and in his will, we're most likely asking for things that are out of his will and out of his ways. So therefore, we're going to get a no most of the time. But of course, getting a no most of the time is quite disconcerting with regards to, should I really be praying and asking for God for anything? Because all I ever get is a no. Well, that's along with the understanding that the church pretty much has failed to teach people that you have to walk in his will and walk in his ways. And then you'll be praying within his will and his ways. And then the things you pray for will then come true. They will happen. Because everything is clicking in place. But to get that where things will happen, you've got to walk in his will and his ways. You've got to first of all know his will and his ways to walk in them. And the thing of it is that we don't. We've not really been taught that, because you go into churches and they say, well, we're going to look at the Gospel of John this week, the 7th chapter. Not exactly teaching people to walk in the will and the ways of the Lord. It's teaching people about the understanding of the speaker's understanding of that chapter. Not how to live as a Christian. Because, folks, generally speaking, Christians pretty much weren't even around in most of that time. Certainly in the time of the Gospels, there were no Christians. Christianity didn't actually exist. They were followers of Christ, yes. But there were, a few hundred to a few thousand regular followers of Christ. But there was no name for it at that point in time. There was no organization. That all came much, much later. And also the understanding, like the letters to the churches, all came years later. So, for most of the time in the Bible, there was no Christianity. So there's not a lot of telling Christians how to walk. Now you go to the letters. In the letters, you've got some information in each letter. What we need really from ministers is to piece some of this stuff together. But bring it to real life. Things that people really are going through. But to do that, they've got to be guided by God. Because God knows the people who are sitting in front of you as a speaker. God knows who those people are and what they need. So I get back to it. If we had that power, we would have to say no. We would have to understand, are people walking in my will and my ways? You know that according to what they're praying for. Are they praying for a new car? Are they praying for a job that pays incredibly well? Are they paying for their wife or husband to obey them? If they are, then you're going to get a no, pretty much. Are they praying that God will bless somebody else in some way? Well, then you've got a maybe, haven't you? Yeah? Interesting. And if you had all those voices in your head all asking for things, you would be very tempted to say yes, because we don't see the big picture. We don't see the big plan. Yeah, the overall plan or the big plan in somebody's life. And it could be a case where you've got some lowly person who's praying for something, and God knows, if I do this now for that person, they won't get to that point in the future where they're going to influence the whole picture. So I've got to leave that person in the situation they're in for now. I can't answer their prayer right now, not what they want. There's a time for that to happen. And when that time is due, then they will get that. But we, who are human and Christian and with limited understanding, we struggle to see these things. It really is watching a film like Bruce Almighty that does help you to see that. And say, that's a good point. You look at what God has to put up with. God has to do when you've got all these billions of people praying to him. And most of the people praying to him, I mean, okay, we're saying more likely millions, but everyone in the world at some point has probably prayed to God. At some point. If they haven't yet, they will do at some point. Even the so-called biggest atheists, when their life goes to pot or when they're in a situation that's really, really bad, they pray to God. As I say, there is a bigger picture that we don't see. We don't see it until we have finished our time on this earth. Then we start to see the bigger picture. And we're like, that's why. Okay. Right, yeah. That's why you couldn't do that. That's why that had to happen. Okay. That's fine. Cool. Yeah. Oh, it's been a lovely day today. Hot, sunny. Again, even that, right? You have people asking God for lovely weather, for hot weather, etc., etc. In hot weather, it's far more difficult to do anything. Far more difficult. So you've got people that need to do something. Like outside here, I've got a tiny little garden here, and last summer I didn't get a chance to clean the area out because it's stones. It's stones, and then beneath stones is sand, beneath sand is mud. And a year's worth of the doggies pooing, and certainly when they got dodgy poo, liquidy poo, you got to flush it away. It goes into the sand and the mud. So every year, every summer, they need to be cleaned. I need to dig the whole area up, or bit by bit. I do it bit by bit, and I then dig a load of the stones up, and then put them on the top part of the garden so they're dry. Once they're dry, I use a riddle and sieve them. Shake it all about, sort of thing. Which gets rid of most of the stuff and just leaves clean stones. So I then put the stones back, bleach the area. Last year I didn't have a chance to do it because we had puppies out there for the whole summer. Mollie will be due to have puppies in about 5-6 weeks. So we're getting good weather now, so it's an ideal time for us to do that. But of course, it's just doing a tiny bit, you end up sweating so much. It's absolutely insane. So hot weather is good. It's useful for some things, but is detrimental for other things. So one person may be praying for hot weather, one person may be praying for cooler weather for a purpose. Now, of course, as God, you can't really answer both, not if they're neighbours. You can't really say yes to both. Because if one neighbour's getting hot weather, you can't just have that on in their garden and the other neighbour gets cooler weather. That's not the way weather, generally speaking, works. Now, you could do that. You could. But people would notice it and notice that something was up. So, generally speaking, you can say yes to one, you can't say yes to both. So, yeah, that's the way it works. And in songs, you have songs that talk about what God gives and takes away. Because that just crossed my mind that, when two people praise something completely opposite, God gives to one person and sort of takes something from someone else. That's not really the case at all. And I think if God takes anything, he takes away the stuff that's not helpful to us, not healthy. So there you go. Just a quick video, something worth thinking about. If you had that power that God has, what would you do? How would you cope with it? Well, if we had the power with the knowledge and understanding that we have right now, we wouldn't cope at all with it. So, there you go. You take care. God bless. Speak to you soon.